Welcome to the Instant Wrestling Report. I'm your host, J-Man, alongside my partner, Quad here. On this edition of the IWR, we're going to go over our 2010 top moments of the year in a kind of order like 10 to 1, kind of you see somewhere like a top 10 list. We're going to start with my partner here, Quad.
My number 10 is Tyler Black leaving the Ring of Honor and the whole match with Roderick and all that leading up to it. Then how he left Ring of Honor by giving the middle finger and doing some of Cena's stuff.
Yeah. My 10 is actually kind of going to be one that's almost overlooked and kind of forgotten, seeing how it wasn't live and it was on a taped SmackDown. But I'm going to go with Jack Swagger's cash-in of his Money in the Bank that he won at WrestleMania on Chris Jericho to win the world title. I believe this was 2 nights after WrestleMania, so it was at the time the quickest cash-in until Kane's at Money in the Bank in July. I just felt that, I thought this is, any cash-in with Money in the Bank is a big moment. So I felt that this deserved the 10th spot for my top 10 of the year.
Okay, number 9 for me is Faction Immortal Fortune. How they all became one with Eric Bischoff and everybody that's in it now. It's kind of a NWO feel with Hulk Hogan, Bischoff, Flair, all of Immortal, all of Fortune. It's just one big group.
Yeah. My number 9 is going to be Y2J Chris Jericho leaving and taking a break. We hope for. Hopefully he'll come back. Taking a break with WWE. This happened, I believe, around the end of summer, somewhere around there. It was on a Raw where Randy Orton ended up punting Chris Jericho. It was a time where Chris Jericho could have got a title shot, I believe, if he would beat Randy, but he ended up getting punted, and everybody that gets punted by Randy got released out for a minimum of a couple months. But we all knew that Chris Jericho wanted to take some time off. He's got his band Fozzy, obviously, and he's been touring with them around the world. So we hope he'll come back, definitely for sure. I think that speaks for both of us, but we all want Y2J back.
My number 8 is Punk being the leader of Nexus and how he did it, how he kept hitting Cena with chairs, how he kept badmouthing Cena, and then when he came out after Nexus beat down Cena, and then acted like he was going to hit him with the chair, sat in the chair, and then put it on the Nexus wristband. Couldn't have been done any better.
Yeah, I agree with that. My number 8 is actually going to be my partner's number 9, I believe, which is the Immortal, they coming together finally at Bound for Glory. I really wasn't too happy with the payoff here. I thought it was going to be something bigger, but it's still, in TNA in 2010, you really can't find any bigger moments for what they did. We kind of already explained it all with, Jarrett and Abyss, saying how they were coming, and finally ends up being Hogan and Bischoff being, kind of NWO thing, which really, kind of just like NWO. But moving on to your number 7.
My number 7 is Edge returning at Royal Rumble last year, beginning of the year, and after he was out with his Achilles injury, was out a couple of months. Kind of was
about 6 months. It's been the early summer of 2009. Yeah.
It was kind of unexpected because we thought usually the return is usually at 30. He came back in at 29, which was kind of unexpected and it needed to be done. And then Edge winning it, which also was good because he went to WrestleMania with the title shot.
Yeah, match against Chris Jericho. Yeah. My number 7 is going to be the return of Daniel Bryan, of course, American Dragon, Bryan Danielson, but that's what it's called. Yeah. Daniel Bryan, his SummerSlam return to be a part of Team WWE or Team Raw or whatever it was called against the Nexus. Of course, former Nexus member, which in my opinion made the Nexus angle so much better because he was a part of it. But his return to SummerSlam was definitely epic, very shocking, and I know it was very well done too because nobody really knew about it. We all actually thought he was seriously fired, and then ends up coming out at SummerSlam when Cena introduced him.
My number 6, the same thing he just said. Daniel Bryan returning. It also, with the aspect of him coming back, and then with the whole Michael Cole hating him, and then it was just when he came out, he was just like, oh, here comes the loser, here comes the geek, and then Daniel Bryan winning the U.S. Championship against The Miz, his pro during NXT, just makes it a lot better.
Yeah. Now I'm going to move on number 6, speaking of The Miz. I'm going to go with Miz's cash-in of his Money in the Bank contract come for his first WWE Championship against Randy Orton, which I believe was early in December. Just a great moment on a Raw. Really didn't have a whole lot of great moments on a Raw, but this was one of them. I know, talking about the Nexus and all that kind of stuff. But it was just perfectly done. I love how earlier in the night they said how, Riley was saying how Miz didn't want to have his match against Henry, so he took himself out of it, which I really wish they wouldn't even talk about. It would have been a little bit better, but still just a great moment on Raw.
My number 5 is the whole Kevin Steen, El Generico feud, and then how it all came down at Final Battle in the end of the year. Just that whole match, the Without Honor match, it just pretty much became a big street fight brawl, and it needed to be. It was a very good match.
Definitely one of the best street fights in history, that's for sure. What it made my miss was a little bit on the outside. Now to start my top 5, I'm going with the Punk being the leader of the Nexus, which he just had a little bit farther. I have a little bit higher on my list. Not to mention Punker, of course. Just the way it was done, it was so perfectly done. Just how Punk delivers every single time when it comes to promos, when it comes to that moment where you need somebody to deliver, and Punk's always going to deliver for you. Just how deliberate he was with getting the armband on his arm, and just perfectly done. Yet another vintage Punk moment.
My number 4 is his number 6, and I cashed in with the Miz in December. It was just very, very unexpected. Nobody really was expecting him. And then when he cashed in on Orton, you could tell Orton didn't want it to happen because Orton was pissed, and then I would have been in the same boat.
Yeah. My number 4 is going to be my partner's one that was up on his list. Mine was actually a little bit higher just because, it's so shocking of it, which was Edge's return at the Royal Rumble. I loved how it was done. A lot of people were speculating that he could have been in it, but once we kind of get down there, we're trying to eliminate the people that, were left, and we knew who was last, so you kind of get down there like, oh, okay, this can't be it, and they ended up tricking us and take somebody out that we thought was in it, and just a great moment moving on with a great match he had with Chris Jericho at WrestleMania.
My number 3 is the whole Bret Hart return after 12 years without being out of WWE, and the whole thing, how him and Shawn went back through history, him and Vince went through history, then how he became the GM,
yep.
And then the whole Nexus, NXT, pretty much attacking him, and then
taking him off,
pretty much knocking him off the air, which was kind of interesting. Nice having Bret as GM again.
Yeah. I'm also, my number 3 is the same as his. I have the Bret Hart return. Just something that you could never predict. Looking back at 1997, after he left after the Montreal Screwjob with Shawn and Vince and everything that happened there, we could not look forward to 12 years later and expect that to ever happen again. We could never see Bret Hart in WWE ring. We never thought it would happen from the fallout that happened there, and him and Shawn burying just everything of their past, and coming together and handshaking and giving a hug. It was just a great scene to see. And then, of course, the evil Vince McMahon, as he always is, backstabbing him and kicking him in the nuts, which is hilarious. But just that whole entire return little section there was just great. Number 2.
My number 2 is, number 1 and 2 are the two toughest ones, because there's a lot that happened in the year 2010 that can be up this high, and this is my opinion. So, my number 2 is Shawn Michaels retiring after WrestleMania. He'll have a different opinion on it. I think it's number 2 because it was that whole match between him and Taker and how they fought a year before.
I attended.
How they fought a year before, and then just the whole match, the whole aspect of Shawn just getting up and slapping him in the. It was just one of those probably the top match in here.
Yeah. My number 2 is going to be the debut of Nexus. Just absolutely perfectly done. I love the idea of Nexus. I love the idea of taking the Season 1 rookies on NXT, putting them in this great heel faction, a la something like NWO, but, a new version of it. The beatdown on John Cena was absolutely perfect. The PG aspect, if you look at that scene on early June of 2010 when Nexus debuted, you would never expect that this was a PG show. They ruined everything. They destroyed, Daniel Bryan destroyed Justin Roberts, the ring announcer, choking him out. That's the reason, that he supposedly got fired, or if he did or whatever. Just destroying the set, taking the rope out, taking the ring out, destroying the entire, all around the arena, and just how it was done, just so perfectly, an epic moment on Raw.
Mine, number 1 is Nexus. Like he said, the whole aspect of the PG thing, and then it's like NWO, but they're all young.
Yeah.
Everybody in the group's a young people. The NWO is kind of a rundown group.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of old guys that just decided to make a faction.
Yeah.
The whole Nexus, not knowing when they're going to pounce, they pounced on Jimmy Superfly Snuka, which, in my opinion, kind of promoted his DVD sales, because everyone's like, who is Jimmy
Not Snuka, is Steamboat.
Oh, Steamboat.
Steamboat.
Steamboat, and kind of everyone's like, "Who's Steamboat?" Ricky Steamboat, and then it was just it was unexpected, and then the whole Nexus Cena thing, how Cena was their little puppet toy made person, and then how he turned on him. It was just the whole year pretty much came down to 6 months, and it's going to be interesting to see what they do in 2011 with Punk as leader.
My number one is going to go with the Shawn Michaels retiring, everything around that whole WrestleMania period. To me, in my opinion, Shawn Michaels is the best wrestler of all time. He's my favorite wrestler of all time. He's somebody that makes me believe in the art of professional wrestling. He's somebody, every time he goes out there, he makes you care about everything that happens, and that's, in my opinion, he carried the company. He did all of this, and to have it culminate in this way, to have this match with one of his great rivals, with The Undertaker, it just couldn't have been done better. I love the speech they let him do on Raw, and he's tearing up and everything, and how he's going to leave, but he still wants to be a part of it, and I really do think he wants to be a part of it. I hope he does come back in some way. I really don't think he's going to wrestle. He's not going to pull a Flair, that he did, but just from my opinion, my favorite wrestler of all time, I loved how it was done, and really just a great, great moment. Thank you for joining us for yet another edition of the Instant Wrestling Report. I'm your host, J-Man, alongside Quad. And be sure to check out our first official video this coming Sunday for the review of TNA Genesis. Your source for professional wrestling news, information, and opinions, instantly.
Pow!
This is a battleground!
What's the point of our show being called Instant if it's going to take 3.5 hours to put a video up and nobody's going to see it instantaneously?
We are recording.
We are recording.
Looks beautiful.
Oh, I love it.